Your Unit 8 test over factoring is this Friday, so we're going to go through this test review. As always, I'll go through the odds and then you'll try the evens on your own. So in order to be successful on this test, you have two options that we can do. One option is factoring, which we've been doing for the last week and a half. And then in a minute, I'll show you another option, which is just eliminating your answer choices, which some of you guys did on your worksheet this last class, and so we can do that here as well. But since this is the factoring chapter, I'm going to start by doing these by factoring. So when we factor, we have an A, a B, and a C. So in order to factor, we need to draw an X. My A times C is the top, the B number is the bottom. So my A value is 2 times my C value is 5. 2 times 5 is the number 10. B stands for bottom, so I'm going to put an 11 on the bottom. So in order to factor, we're going to write all of the factors of 10. I like to go in order from 1 to make it a little bit easier. So 1 times 10 equals 10. 2 times 5 equals 10. So those are all of the factors that could multiply to make 10. I need to figure out which of those multiply to make 10, but add to make 11. 1 and 10 would make 11. So now we're halfway done. So we've figured out our factors. So what we're going to do is write down the first term, which is 2x squared. I'm going to replace the middle. It's called splitting the middle, because instead of writing that middle term, I'm going to write plus 1x plus 10x. And then in the back, I have the number positive 5. So all I did is I rewrote this exact question, but instead of this 11x in the middle, I rewrote it as the two factors that came off of my x puzzle. So now we factor by grouping. Very easy. What number can you divide a 2 and a 1 by? A 2 and a 1 can both be divided by the number 1. They both have an x, so I can take out the letter x. That's called the greatest common factor. So I take that 1x out. What's left over? 2 divided by 1 is 2. X to the 2 over x to the 1 is just x to the 1. Plus 1 divided by 1 is 1. When exponents or x's are stacked, you subtract. X1 over x1 would make x0. So that gets to cancel. So now I do the same thing with the other side. What is the greatest common factor of a 10 and a 5? What can I divide those by? I can divide both of those numbers by a 5. So I take a 5 out. Now I write my leftovers. 10 divided by 5 is 2 with an x. 5 divided by 5 is positive 1. So I know that I did it correctly because my numbers in parentheses match. So I got 2x plus 1. So I can take those out because they're in both. So now my leftover is just a 1x and a positive 5. So those get to go together. So this is the factored version of this original trinomial. So if you look at your answer choices, 1x plus 5 is the same as just saying x plus 5, same. So the correct answer choice is B. No, it's not. Yes, it is. So the correct answer choice is B. 2x plus 1 and a 1x plus 5. Very easy. Go ahead and try the same thing with number 2. I'll start you off. A, B, C. When we factor, it's called x factoring because we're going to draw an x. A times C. A times C is negative 15. B stands for bottom. Put that B number on the bottom. It's a negative 2. Okay, get your factors of 15 and then try to factor number 2. Okay, when you're ready, let's take a look at number 3. So on number 3, it's a trinomial. It's got 3 pieces. So we would factor this, but let's see what happens here. A, B, C. So in this thing here, if I drew an x, I would have to take my A times C over B. Well, 7 times 28 is the number 196. B stands for bottom, so the bottom is the number 53. I can tell you right now, I don't want to write all of the factors of 196. That's so big. We could factor it. It will be factorable. But I don't want to factor when my A times C is a number that's really big like that. So the other option of what we learned is we can just eliminate our answer choices. What that means, we did this last time. I'm going to check my front numbers. 1x times 7x is 7x squared. So the front numbers work. That makes the front numbers here. So now I'm going to check the back numbers. 2 times 8 is the number 16. This is not a 16 in the back. So that means that A is not the correct answer. The fronts have to make the front. The backs have to make the back. I'm going to try B. I'm going to check the fronts. 7 times 1 is 7. The fronts work. The back. 4 times 7 is 28. Yep, the back works. So it might be B. So let's check C. 1 times 7. Yep, that makes 7. 2 times 14. Yep, that makes 28. So the answer is either B or it's C. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take B and I'm going to write it down. 7x plus 4 times x plus 7. I am going to do what we did in the last unit. It's called double distributing. 7x with another x is 7x squared. 7x times 7 is positive 49x. You were really good at this last chapter. 4 with an x is a 4x. 4 with a 7 is a plus 28. We have like terms in the middle. So my final answer is 7x squared plus 53x plus 28. This here matches this guy here, which means that B has to be the answer. If you double distributed option C, it would not work. You would not get a 53 here in the middle. So try the same thing with number 4. Again, I'll set you up on 4. We could try to factor this. A times B times C. I'm sorry, label A, B, C. A, C is the top. B is the bottom. 5 times 12 is the number 60. 19 goes in the bottom. So you could factor this. You could tell me all of the factors, 1 in 60, 2 in 30, 3 in 20. You can write all the factors of 60, but 60 is pretty big, so it has a lot of factors. Some of you are good at factoring and you like factoring, so get that x and factor like normal. But if you don't like factoring or you don't want to get the factors of 60, we can just check our answer choices to see which ones would work. Okay, so we would check front times front. 5 times x, yep, that makes 5x squared. Check back times back. 2 times 6, yep, that makes 12. So A could possibly be the correct answer. Let's check B. 2 times 1, no, that's never going to make a 5. So the answer is not B, because the fronts would not multiply to make that front. Let's try C. 5 times 1, yep, that's 5. 4 times 3, yep, that's 12. So check front times front and back times back. So unfortunately, both A and C could be the right answer. So I'm going to write out A, 5x plus 2 times x plus 6. Go ahead and double distribute and see if that ends up with this term right here, 5x squared plus 19x plus 12. If it doesn't work, then your answer has to be C. So go ahead and continue with number 4. Okay, when you're ready, go ahead and flip over. Let's take a look at number 5. All right. So number 5, let's go back to factoring, since some of you guys prefer to factor. If you like this option where you're just eliminating your multiple choice answers, I could already tell you one right here that you could eliminate. So if you'd rather eliminate and just double distribute to get your answer, that's fine. If you'd rather factor, then follow along with me as we practice factoring. So again, when we factor, there's an A, a B, and a C. If you want to factor, you draw an X every time. My A number is a 1 times my C number is a 9. 1 times 9 is the number 9. B stands for bottom, so we put a -10 on the bottom. I'm going to list all of my factors of 9. 1 times 9, 3 times 3. Those are the numbers that would multiply to make a 9. Which one of these could possibly make a 10? Well, 3 and 3 are never going to add or subtract to make the number 10. But 1 and 9 would work. A -1 times a -9 would make a positive when you multiply. But in your calculator, -1 plus -9 is the number -10. So these are my factors. So the factor, I'm going to put a 1 in front, make it easier to see. So the first term stays 1x squared. I'm replacing my middle with my 2 factors from x factoring, and I bring down my last number. When you split this middle here and factor by grouping, make sure the symbol stays on the right side of your line. So we're just practicing factoring. So in this one here, what can come out of these 2 terms, the greatest common factor, we can divide them both by 1. They both have an x. So that's my GCF, 1x. What's left over? 1 divided by 1 is 1. 2 x's, take away 1x, is just 1x left over. 1 divided by 1 is 1. X's will cancel if it's the same letter on the top and the bottom. So now I need to figure out what I can divide these by. Well, I can divide them both by 9, but you have to use the sign that's right in front for this to work. So if that's negative, I need to make those negative. So -9 is what gets to come out. What's left over? -9 divided by -9 is 1 with an x. 9 divided by -9 is a -1. My parentheses match. That's a great thing. So I take it out, 1x minus 1. Those were in common. I write the leftovers, 1x minus 9. 1x is the same as just regular old x. Again, 1x is the same as just x. So the correct answer is A. So if that was too much work for you, factoring, drawing the x, factor by grouping, then you could have done what we did on number 4 and number 3, where you just check the front, check the back, eliminate answer choices. If you have more than one answer choice left, double distribute and figure out which one makes that original. So number 6, you pick. If you want to factor, label A is 1, B is -5, C is 6. So if you want to factor this, we always start by x factoring, draw an x. Air conditioning is blowing from the top, so A times C is the top. B stands for bottom. So on number 6, if you want to factor it, go ahead and use the x, replace the middle, and factor by grouping. If you don't want to factor it, then eliminate answer choices. X times x, yep, that's 1x squared. But these back numbers, -5 times -1, let's see, the fronts worked. The front ones were okay. But the back, -5 times -1, would not make a positive 6. So I know for sure that A is not the answer. So you can either factor this and get your factors, or you can double distribute your answer choice and see which one gives you the original question. So either way is fine. So either factor using the X method or double distribute and figure out which ones made that trinomial. Let's move on to number 7. Okay, so on number 7, I'm going to double distribute and see if it works. You could factor it too. Factoring will give you the same thing. So in this one here, to double distribute, we're going to check our front terms. X times x makes x squared. So that works. Check your back. Negative 6 times negative 4 is a positive 24. So far, A works. Option B, x times x, yep, that makes x squared. 2 times 12, yep, that makes 24. So unfortunately, both A and B would make the front number and the back number. So I'm going to rewrite A. I'm going to double distribute. Give the x here, that makes x squared. Give the x here, that makes minus 4x. Negative 6x. Positive 24. Combine like terms. So the option A would leave you with x squared minus 10x plus 24. That's what A would become. This does not match what A just became. So A is not my answer. So I'm going to try the same thing with B. Double distribute. X times x is x squared. X times 12 is 12x. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 12 is 24. Combine like terms. Okay, letter B, that also does not make this original question right there. So the answer is not B. So the correct answer is C. None of these, neither of them, neither of these things made the original equation. If you tried to factor this with the x method, you could have done that too. This is a trinomial. A times C is 24. B is negative 4. If you tried to factor that, there's no number that would ever multiply to make this, but add to make this. It wouldn't work. It's not factorable, so it's none of these. Okay, so I used the eliminate answer choices method. You could have used factoring. It would have worked as well. So try number 8. Again, you can either factor it by drawing that x, finding the numbers, or you can try to use the option where you're multiplying front times front, back times back, cancel them. If nothing cancels, double distribute. Okay, so get to number 7 and 8. All right, let's look at number 9. So in number 9, this is a little bit trickier. So this only has 2 terms. There's not 3. So in number 9, we are not going to draw an x because it's not a trinomial. We do not have 3 terms. So x factoring is not going to help me for number 9 because we don't have 3 pieces. So all we have to do here, let's write this here, distribute the answer choices. Okay, let's see what that means. So what that means is I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to distribute just like you did in the last chapter. This is not double distributing because there's only one number out here to distribute. Very easy. Negative 7 times negative 2 is positive 14. X with another x makes x to the second. Negative 7 times 10 is negative 70 with an x. Does this answer match this question? It's close, but it's not the same. Can't be B. So let's try the same thing with the next one. Take my answer choice and distribute. Negative 7 times 2 is negative 14. Let's make my colors match. Negative 7, be careful, this is a negative 10. Negative 7 times negative 10 is positive 70, and there's an x with that one. Does this here match your question? Absolutely it does. Correct answer is B. You could try C, but C would not work. Okay, so try the same thing with number 10. Take your answer choices and distribute. Only one of those will make this original question. So whenever we have two pieces, we can just distribute our answer choices. Figure out which one matches to make this thing up here. B matched my original question. Okay, flip to number 11. 11 is the exact same thing. There's two pieces here. So we're going to write distribute your answer choices. What that means, circle the number in front and distribute. Use your calculator to help you. 15 times negative 10 is the number negative 150 with an X. 15 times negative 4 is minus 60. There's no X in that. There's no X in that back term. This does not at all match that. So the answer choice is not A. Let's try B. Take the number in front, multiply times both terms. Negative 15 times 10 again is negative 150. But this time it's x squared because he has an x and he has an x. So together that's two of them. Negative 15 times negative 4 is the number positive 60 with an x. Obviously, that also is not the answer. Check the last one. Multiply to both terms. 15 times 10, yep, that's 150 with two x's. 15 times 4, yep, that's minus 60 with an x. This matches this, so the correct answer is C. So if you only have two terms with some answer choices, distribute your answer choices and figure out which one matches this question here. So go ahead, try the same thing with number 12. See if you can get number 12 correct. Well, that's interesting. Okay, let's look at number 13. So there's one I meant to put on here, but I didn't, but that's okay. We'll make it work. So in number 13, again, if you did your X method, A, B, and C, those numbers would get really, really big. 36 is A times 25 is C. That's the number 900. B is the number negative 6. 900, that's what A times C was. I do not want to write all of the factors of 900. That's ridiculous. You could do it. It would take forever, but you could write all the factors of 900. See which ones add to make a negative 6. But that would be crazy. What you need to notice in this question is these beautiful numbers in the front and in the back. Those numbers are called perfect squares. What a perfect square means is that we can jump straight to the parentheses. What number times itself makes 36? 6 with an X, 6 with an X. What number times itself makes 25? 5 times 5. So when we are factoring perfect square, those are perfect squares, trinomials, 1, 2, 3 pieces, we are always going to take the sign that came first. So that's a minus sign right here, which means these become minus signs. The reason why is because negative 5 times negative 5 is a positive 25. So this is the same as this, so I could rewrite this as 6x minus 5, but there's two of them. So the correct answer is B. Try the same thing with number 14. this is a perfect square. This is a perfect square. So I can go straight to my 2 parentheses. What makes 4? 2x times 2x. What makes 64? 8 and 8. If these are perfect square trinomials, you take the first sign that you see. The reason why, positive 8 times positive 8 makes a positive 64. We have a 2x plus 8, and there are 2 of them. So we put square, which just means that there were 2 of them. So figure out which answer choice that is. So before we move to 15, I meant to put this on here, but silly me did not do that. So I'm just going to show you an example here that you'll have to know for tomorrow. 4x squared minus 81. So this was the other type for when we had perfect squares. So again, perfect square, perfect square. That means I can go straight to my parentheses. What makes 4? 2. There's an x in front. 2 with an x in front. What makes 81? 9 times 9. But be careful with this one. The only way to make a negative in the back is a positive times a negative. This is not on your review sheet, so you can just squeeze it to the side somewhere if you want to. But this is just so you need to see. Perfect square, go straight. 2 times 2 is 4. 9 times negative 9 is negative 81. Okay, that's the only other one that you're going to have to know on this guy here for a perfect square. So anytime you see perfect squares, just go straight to the parentheses and put your numbers in. All right, so when you're ready, let's go back to 15. So on number 15, and this one here, that's not a perfect square. That's not a perfect square. So I can't use any nice little shortcuts. What I also can't do is I can't double distribute. I don't have 2 things that I can multiply. I don't have 2 binomials. So in this one here, when it says, what is one factor of this? We have no choice but to factor A, B, C. So on number 15, we absolutely, the only way to get it right is to factor. So there's going to be 2 questions on your test where you have to factor because these are not perfect squares. 18 is not a perfect square. So I can't just do like a cheater shortcut to jump to my parentheses. Nor can I eliminate answer choices because I don't have something to multiply to get this here to work. So number 15, you're going to do regular factoring. This video is about to end, so I'm going to reset with a new video and continue with number 15. If you know how to factor, go ahead and try 15.